and welcome to Love Always Self. I'm Shyra.
Hi, y'all. I'm Karista, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Love Always Self. We are always happy to have you and joining us in this love and gratitude space. So, thank you, listeners, for being here with us. And for new listeners, welcome. We are so glad to have you.
Yay.
So, I just wanted to start off this episode by sharing a story. This happened last night. So we have an issue with bunnies, and they're wild bunnies. But the issue is that we have two dogs that also like the bunnies, and not in the way that maybe you or I would. But anyways, last night I went and sat outside, and I had let the dogs out with me, and I was sitting by the pool just basking in the rays of the full moon light. And I noticed that the dogs, were prowling around the pool equipment. And
Uh-oh.
that's been a notorious area for bunnies to hide. So I went over there and took a little peek around the area and saw a little baby bunny, no bigger than like the palm of my hand. And this little baby bunny was s- hiding between, the big storage box that we use to hold the pool chemicals, between that box and the fence. And so I had to enroll the assistance of my husband to help me catch the bunny, because the goal was to move it so that we can save it from the mouths of our dogs.
Oh my gosh. I love bunnies.
Yes, they are your spirit
They
animal,
are. They're my favorite. I
and we have
cannot.
so many. About once a month, for about 6 months, we keep getting new litters. So, some of them have made it, others not so lucky. So we wanted to save this little bunny. So I took the dogs back inside, and my husband came out with me, and I blocked an escape route, and my husband moved the box of chemicals, and while I stood on one end waiting to catch the bunny, and I saw it run around to the other side towards John, and John, was trying to catch it, and so it ran back to the corner, and then he tried to shoo it towards me, and so I ended up catching it. But these little guys are like the cartoons. When you are like not you, but the in the cartoons where they're grabbing at something and it just keeps shooting up and grabbing and shooting up and grabbing and shooting up until it just like gets out, and that's basically what happened. So it was a very cartoonish moment, trying to catch the bunny. And so then the baby bunny ran off towards the fence line, and then ran back around between me and John, and then ran back around, the backyard towards the other end of our yard.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I took a split second because I'm watching my husband, you know, dashing from side to side, like, just a split second of, oh man, this thing is so much faster than us. And so ultimately, I finally caught it again, and had another little cartoon moment, and finally grasped it with both hands and quickly pulled it to my solar plexus and just held it there to try and give it like this safe space for it to just be, because I didn't want it to freak out. I'm not trying to hurt it. So I created this little burrow in my hands, and just held him against my chest. And as I'm walking, finally holding the baby bunny, I'm just like suddenly aware of how fast my heart is beating.
Mm.
And I was just like, oh man, baby bunny, please don't take that as like a negative thing. This is just trying to save you. And so took that bunny to a neighbor's yard where they don't have dogs, and released it into a bush. And this morning I was just reliving that moment. That's 1 to 2 seconds where I was holding the baby bunny against my solar plexus and just acknowledging my heartbeat and its heartbeat as well. And in that moment this morning, the song came into my mind. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. And I was like, I had a whole world in my hands in that moment.
Mm.
And it caused me to reflect on the fact that even though we appear as one solid being, and all these little animals and humans around us appear as one solid being. When you think about it, our form is made up of trillions upon trillions of living cells, cells that create our blood components, cells that create our skin, cells that create our organs and our hair and fur follicles. And we are not a single organism. We are made up of trillions and trillions of beings within us. And within each living being, there is a whole universe inside. And so it made me ponder our universe. What are we making with our universe? Like, what if we are really a marble?
Yeah.
Like you referenced, what was it? Men in Black,
Men in Black.
right?
Yeah.
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 Orion's belt. The universe is in Orion's belt.
Or
The
like
little
when
cat collar.
you remember in one of the movies where he puts the watch, but he needs that watch back from the locker, and inside that locker, there's an entirely different universe happening in that locker. That one's actually a really funny part. So if you haven't seen that, go see that. But it's like that,
Yeah.
where, and then at the end of that movie, they just kept zooming in to like
Mhm.
all the different universes within every universe,
And it makes me wonder, what kind of universe is inside a single cell? And continuing on that, this whole idea of from what is it? God, it slipped my mind. From within to
So without,
without.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. As above, so below kind of thing.
Mhm.
So when we consider that each individual being is in it of itself a whole universe,
Yeah.
just creating that awareness that there is so much life happening in each of us. And is it like just the tiniest little bit of it, the microcosmic level, all the way to macro, like how this is probably repeated beyond our senses,
Yeah.
our ability to see and be aware of it, and just the appreciation for our individual bodies and the universe that is inside, and recognizing the value of each other being and that they carry a universe within them as well.
I love this story. This is awesome. I mean, partly in fact of watching you guys run around your backyard like that. That should have been caught on like one of those like cameras that you put in your backyard, but still, darn it if it wasn't.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like as you're talking about this, I keep getting, because right before we hit record, we go through like a little meditative period where we call in our Mount Glass masters, teachers, guides, loved ones, angels, self, and source, just in case we haven't said it in a while. And we ask for protection. We ask for, assistance and any knowledge that any of our listeners would need to know at the divine timing that they're supposed to know it. And so while going through that, I saw this image of a little cell, right? Or a molecule.
Mhm.
I'm not great at that stuff, so we'll just roll with it, okay? Um,
Okay.
and I saw a mirror around it. It was almost like as if a bubble was made out of a mirror. And this took me back to the channel message we did once, or that we received once, where that, when you blow a bubble and you see this like colorful, like
Mhm.
looks like oil is surrounding
Yeah.
it and it's made of swirls of color. And it reminded me of that moment. But instead it was almost like this like bubble was this mirror, and around this mirror was, the reflection of the universe outside of what's ever inside of it. um but within that bubble is still this entirely different universe. And
Mhm.
then for some reason I got this imagery while you were just sharing that story of like a relative that has passed, like putting their hand on your shoulder. And then behind that relative was another, connection of some sort, and another and another. And it was just making this chain,
Mm,
like you see the, animated graphic of like the hands holding, and then the hand holding wraps all the way around the
yeah.
planet.
Mhm.
It was kind of like that, but it was just like a single hand. And then I got this like thought process of like even that animal, you know, being in that connection, or just injecting into that connection, even if it's periodic, right? And so it's like this like imagery of like how we're all connected to everything,
Mhm. Mhm.
even if it's like a different universe or a different perspective, or however you want to like use the words. But um I thought that was kind of cool to just receive that right now, and like, kind of have a bit of a visual of like how you're describing, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
that situation.
It definitely brought this level of gratitude for like or desire to take better care
Mm,
of this living multi-organism
mm,
created universe that we reside in,
yeah.
so practicing better self-care, appreciating and valuing those around us, and seeing the magic in that in itself. Like,
Yeah.
our bodies are pretty incredible things. And the fact that it's like this agreement between all of these cells
Yeah.
to work together to create this space of homeostasis where they can live and thrive. And so then this brings me to Mother Earth and
Mhm.
how we should take better care of her too, because she's just a larger version of our body.
Beautiful.
Skin cells, the earth, the blood is the rivers and the oceans and the lakes. It's all there. It just looks a little bit different.
Wow, we are that perceived bunny in your
Mhm.
situation,
Mhm.
right? But for
Exactly.
those organisms living on the planet.
Yeah.
Ooh, goosebumps.
We're
I
we're
love
like
it.
the little sorry guys if you're not aware of this, but we actually have lots of bugs all over our body.
No, 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 we're not talking about
But not like insect bugs, not necessarily, but these bugs, also bacteria,
Yeah.
right, keep our body healthy, or they become out of balance and they
Mm,
become a problem and an illness.
yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm seeing us as. We can be this bacteria that is healthy and keeps things, balanced and alive when we're kept in check. But when we're not kept in check, we become a problem and a detriment.
Yeah. Oh, oh. I don't know. I'm stuck back at the visual of the things crawling all over us, and no, 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 no. But I have a problem with bugs. I'm not gonna
I
lie
know.
about that. It's a thing. It's a trauma, I think. It's I don't even know if it's this lifetime of a trauma, but it's definitely a trauma. We're working on it. We're working on it.
So, yeah, just wanted to bring this story to you guys just to give you something to ponder on, something to, consider and, see how far inward and outward you can go with these thoughts. What else can you connect it to? What other, thoughts of love and gratitude can be born out of these thoughts? So, I hope this has, just given you a little bit of curiosity and question and like, hmm, to
And
ponder.
I'm gonna reference our one of our previous episodes,
Mhm.
last week's, and it's in that episode we talk about, self-awareness, and that right there is just one of those additional, moments where you can become a bit more self-aware of,
Mhm.
the things that you're a part of. and not even things, and like all the stuff,
Yeah.
all the bits and pieces that we're a part of. And this is like moment of perspective of zooming out and just seeing things in a different way. And I love it.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. And just the opportunities to see the magic, because the magic is all around.
Mhm.
It's just, things get in the way and draw our attention to less magical things.
Yeah,
So let this be a moment to pull the shades back and really see that magic.
I love it. Oh, well done. I love this story. I have to go back and listen to it. Obviously, we will have to when we do
Yeah.
the show notes of this, but whatever. So, speaking of,
Yeah.
uh, you know how I like to interrupt our beautiful stories and just throw in a little bit of self-awareness here, but don't forget to like and subscribe, follow, hit the notification bells if you are enjoying this content. You would like to be notified of any future content of ours.
Mhm.
It does help us grow. It does help our messages reach more. Yay, algorithms. So thank you. And we do appreciate it.
And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please take a moment to review us as well. So that
Yeah,
really, again, helps the algorithm and our message to reach more people. And what we do is w- all in the name of love and support.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
on that note, don't forget to love first
Love last.
and love always. Y'all have a wonderful day. Bye.
Mwah. Bye.
Hey, listener, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this moment. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and we look forward to our next connection.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow to stay notified of new content from Love Always Self. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to discuss, please hit us up on any of our social media platforms linked in the show notes below.
I'm Karista,
And I'm Shyra.
and until next time, remember to love first
Love last
and love always. Love Always Self podcast is meant for entertainment purposes only. We do not make any warranties about the completeness, reliability, and accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. Any action you choose to take upon the information in this podcast is strictly done so at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of our podcast. Any and all medical concerns should be addressed with a licensed healthcare provider, as well as any questions that may be derived from the information discussed in this podcast.